with danger and with daring rights. To the hilt we take you there, where courage meets a throat.
Have you ever stared down a challenge, something that felt, absolutely insurmountable, something that just screamed impossible in your mind? Or maybe there's a dream, like a deep aspiration you hold, that fear has just kept hidden away, locked behind walls of doubt and apprehension.
Sure. I think most people can relate to that feeling.
Well, what if the very act of confronting those deepest, those most paralyzing fears could actually be the key, the singular key to unlocking the impossible?
That's a powerful idea.
Today on the Deep Dive, we're embarking on this, extraordinary journey into the life of Dan Meyer. He's a man who, really against all rational odds, transformed himself from what he vividly describes as a scared, shy, skinny, wimpy kid
Yeah, quite the description.
into a world-renowned sword swallower and a multiple Guinness World Record holder.
The contrast there is it's stunning. It really is.
It isn't just dramatic, it's a testament to the human spirit, isn't it?
I imagine.
From these humble beginnings in Michigan City, Indiana, battling extreme fears and a diagnosed social anxiety disorder.
Which wasn't even widely recognized then.
Exactly. To achieving staggering physical feats and gaining global recognition on, the biggest stages and screens across the planet.
You were talking about someone who has swallowed, 29 swords simultaneously?
29. And submerged himself in shark tanks to swallow blades underwater, handled swords heated to a searing 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And even pulled multi-ton cars by a sword he'd swallowed.
It sounds completely made up, but it's real.
It really does. Beyond the spectacle, he's been a finalist on America's Got Talent and, quite remarkably, won the prestigious Ig Nobel Prize in Medicine.
The Ig Nobel, right. That always adds an interesting layer.
So our mission for this deep dive is to truly unpack the fascinating evolution of Dan Meyer. We'll be drawing extensively from his incredibly insightful chapter in To the Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing.
Great book, by the way. Co-authored with Mark Hartzman.
Absolutely. And we'll also pull in powerful moments and philosophies from his viral TEDx Maastricht talk.
That talk really resonated with a lot of people.
It did. Our focus isn't merely on how he performs these unbelievable feats, but far more importantly, why he does them, what profound lessons his unique philosophy offers, and what his journey can illuminate for you, the listener, as you face the seemingly impossible challenges in your own life.
Okay, let's get into it.
So let's begin to truly unpack this. To grasp the essence of Dan Meyer's transformation, we absolutely must go all the way back to the very beginning.
Right.
Picture a scared, shy, skinny, indeed wimpy kid born April 7, 1957 in Michigan City, Indiana. What was his early life genuinely like? And how did those foundational experiences, steeped as they were in debilitating fear, inadvertently shape him into the impossibilist he was destined to become?
Well, what's truly fascinating here, and it's quite paradoxical really, is how these early vulnerabilities, things most people would see as profound weaknesses, actually laid the groundwork for this extraordinary, almost incomprehensible transformation later on. Meyer himself paints a really stark picture of his childhood. He describes himself as so extremely shy that he was constantly shaking, barely able to muster the words to even talk to other people.
Wow, that sounds intense.
It really does. And his fears weren't just, common childhood anxieties. They were, in his words, crippling. He had the typical fears, sure, dark, heights, spiders, snakes.
Okay.
But his list grew far more extensive and deeply personal. A pervasive fear of water, sharks, doctors, nurses, dentists, needles, drills, and crucially, sharp objects.
Sharp objects, okay. That's foreshadowing right there.
Definitely. And perhaps most profoundly, he carried this intense, paralyzing fear of people themselves.
That's in general.
Yeah. He was later diagnosed, as you mentioned, with social anxiety disorder, a condition that, as he notes in his reflections, just was widely recognized or understood during his formative years. So this isolation, this internal struggle, it was a profound early challenge for him.
And the relentless consequence of those deep-seated fears for a child who was already so inherently shy and withdrawn must have been incredibly harsh, especially in a world that, let's face it, often isn't kind to those who are different.
Oh, it was absolutely brutal. Because of these extreme fears and his crippling social anxiety, he became a relentless target for bullies. Constant teasing, physical abuse. He recalls in vivid detail the agony of dodgeball games. He admitted he was not a good dodger.
I can picture that.
He'd walk home from school, his face burning red, stinging from the impact of the balls, his ears ringing with cruel laughter, eyes burning with unshed tears.
That's heartbreaking.
And the bully's words, he recalls, were particularly scarring. He powerfully states that whoever coined the phrase, "sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me," was, well, undeniably lying.
Yeah, words can cut deep.
For young Dan, words had this terrifying power. They could cut like a knife, pierce like a sword, inflict wounds so deep they were invisible, but felt profoundly in his spirit. So yes, words were, and for a long time remained, his worst enemy.
Which, as we'll discover, sets up this truly powerful paradox later in his life, right?
Exactly.
So he was trapped by these crippling fears, tormented by words that cut him like swords. Yet, even amidst all that pain, he nurtured this secret world of dreams. Where did those dreams come from? And what was the singular turning point that allowed them to finally begin overshadowing the fear, setting him on that long, improbable walk towards the impossible?
Well, his profound escape was into the boundless world of imagination and fictional heroism. He'd retreat home, immerse himself in Superman comics.
Ah, Superman. Classic escape.
Totally. A world where he could dream of being a superhero, fighting for truth and justice, battling elusive villains, even kryptonite itself. He yearned to fly around the world performing superhuman feats and, crucially, saving lives.
But it wasn't just fiction, right? He was drawn to real-world feats, too.
Absolutely. His fascination extended powerfully into reality. He devoured the Guinness Book of World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not, poring over stories of real people accomplishing truly remarkable, often unbelievable things. He made this quiet vow to himself. If the bullies wouldn't let him play sports, he would do real magic, real feats, something genuinely remarkable they could never achieve.
Wow. A quiet rebellion.
Sort of. He desperately sought to find his purpose, his meaning in life, and to definitively prove that what seemed impossible was, in fact, not impossible at all.
And then, as the story often goes in these kinds of transformational journeys, came the moment that changed everything for him. A real crucible, a direct confrontation with his own mortality.
Precisely. Fast forward to the week right before his 21st birthday, April 1978. He's living in a totally unfamiliar environment. Tamil Nadu, South India, serving as a Lutheran missionary.
Okay.
One day, his mentor approaches him with this seemingly simple, yet profoundly impactful question. Do you have thrones, Daniel?
Thromes, like T-H-R-O-M-E-S.
Exactly. Meyer was initially bewildered, asking, what are thrones? His mentor patiently explained that thrones aren't just dreams, and they aren't just goals. They are major life goals. They combine the audacious spirit of dreams with the actionable nature of goals.
Interesting concept.
Yeah. The question was posed as a hypothetical. If you could do anything you want to do, go any place you want to go, be anyone you want to be, where would you go? What would you do? Who would you be?
And his reaction, still rooted in fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Indeed.
His immediate, almost visceral reaction, still deeply rooted in those childhood fears, was, I can't do that. I'm too scared. I've got too many fears. The weight of his past just seemed to crush the possibility of his future right there.
But something truly transformative happened that very night, didn't it? The philosophical question escalated pretty quickly into a stark life-or-death confrontation with his deepest fears.
Indeed. That evening, Jan went up to the roof of his bungalow, lying on his rice mat under the vast star-filled Indian sky, just contemplating these thrones, wrestling with his dreams, his goals, even the phantom memories of those dodgeball-wielding bullies.
Oh.
A few hours later, he woke with a jolt. Heart pounding, knees shaking uncontrollably, but this time it wasn't psychological fear. His entire body was convulsing violently.
Oh, wow.
For the next 5 agonizing days, he drifted in and out of consciousness, literally on his deathbed, fighting for his life against a raging 105-degree malaria fever.
Malaria. That's incredibly serious.
Extremely. And whenever he was lucid, the only thing that occupied his thoughts were those thrones. What did he truly want to do with his fleeting life if he were granted another chance?
Facing mortality really clarifies things.
Doesn't it just? Finally, on the night before his 21st birthday, in a moment of startling, almost divine clarity, he experienced this profound epiphany. He initially thought the tiny mosquito, Anopheles stephensi, less than a grain of salt, capable of bringing down a 170-pound man, he thought that was his kryptonite.
Understandable reaction.
But then he corrected himself.
Yeah.
No, not the mosquito. It was the parasite thriving inside it, Plasmodium falciparum, which tragically kills millions globally each year.
Right.
And then the deepest, most searing realization hit him. No, it was even smaller than the parasite, yet infinitely greater in its power to destroy fear was his true kryptonite.
Oh.
Fear was the insidious parasite that had crippled, paralyzed, and controlled his entire life.
That's a huge realization. Fear is the real parasite.
Massive. And it was this revelation, this shift in understanding fear that led directly to his defining life philosophy, wasn't it?
It absolutely did. He recognized with crystal clarity the crucial difference between danger and fear. Danger, he understood, is a tangible reality. It's out there.
Right, it's external.
But fear, he realized, is an internal construct. It's a choice. In that harrowing moment on the brink of death, he was confronted with this stark, undeniable decision. Either continue to live enslaved by fear and effectively die in failure that night, or choose, consciously and deliberately, to put his fears to death, to symbolically swallow them, and to finally reach for his dreams, to dare to truly live.
In this moment, it's such a powerful illustration, isn't it, of how extreme adversity, especially facing your own mortality, often becomes the crucible where profound shifts in perspective, purpose, and resolve are forged.
Totally.
It highlights how confronting the ultimate end can paradoxically ignite this fierce desire to embrace and truly live every single moment. As he often reflects, everyone dies, but not everyone truly lives. It's in dying that we live. When you learn to die, you really learn to live.
Powerful words. So at that critical juncture, he made this conscious, almost sacred commitment to utterly rewrite his own story. He wouldn't die, not that way. What was the exact nature of this commitment? And what were those initial audacious thrones he dared to list? Laying out a blueprint for a life lived without fear's shackles.
He made a solemn prayer, a profound, deeply personal commitment to himself. If he survived to see his 21st birthday, he vowed to never again let fear rule his life. He would systematically put his fears to death, relentlessly reach for his dreams, completely change his attitude, do something truly incredible with his life, find his unique purpose, and, most importantly, definitively prove that the impossible was, in fact, not impossible.
Wow, that's quite a vow.
It is. And that very night, with the weight of that near-death experience fresh in his mind, he meticulously crafted his initial list of 10 thrones. And these weren't like small goals. They were grand boundary-pushing ambitions. Like visit all the major continents, see the 7 wonders of the world, master multiple languages, live on a deserted island, experience life on a ship at sea, live with an Amazon tribe, climb Sweden's highest mountain, see Mount Everest at sunrise.
Okay, he wasn't messing around.
Not at all. Also, carve out a career in the music business in Nashville, work with a circus, and even, perhaps surprisingly, given his fear of heights, jump out of an airplane. This was his initial manifesto for a life redefined.
And what's truly compelling is that he didn't just think about these things or write them down. He started doing them. What were some of these early thrones he actually checked off? And how did each achievement, each step into the unknown, systematically build his confidence, brick by painstakingly acquired brick?
His actions were just as audacious as his dreams. Over the next 2 decades, he systematically accomplished most of those initial thrones. And every time he checked one off, he didn't just stop. He'd immediately add 5 or 10 more, constantly expanding the scope of his life, proving his capacity to himself.
Like that deserted island one. Did he actually do that?
He absolutely did. For 7 remarkable years, he lived on a small, deserted island in the Bahamas' Little Stirrup Cay. He built a thatch hut, often the sole inhabitant, learned to spear sharks and stingrays for food.
Wait, sharks? The guy afraid of sharks?
Exactly. He learned to swim fearlessly alongside them. Think about that transformation, a profound act of conquering those deep-seated phobias through direct, immersive experience.
That's incredible.
From there, he moved to Mexico, then journeyed deep into the Amazon River basin, living with a tribe in Pujo Pongo, Ecuador. He describes how, little by little, incrementally, he began to accumulate confidence just by relentlessly pursuing and achieving these thrones.
He didn't just stop at conquering primal fears, though. He kept pushing into vastly different, equally challenging environments, right? Continuing to expand that comfort zone.
Precisely. He then transitioned into the demanding world of the music business, first in Nashville, then Stockholm, Sweden. While in Sweden, he scaled Mount Kebnekaise, the country's highest mountain, high above the Arctic Circle, another direct challenge to his fear of heights. And what's often overlooked, something we learned from his account in To the Hilt, is that even before the malaria experience back in 1975 at Waldorf College in Iowa, he already started dabbling in performance arts.
Oh, really? Like what?
He learned clowning, juggling, stilt walking, unicycle riding from his roommate, who was a circus clown. He even learned fire eating and glass eating from a local magician back then.
Because the seeds were there early.
Yeah. This progressive mastery, moving from smaller challenges like juggling to huge ones like living on an island or climbing mountains, confronting literal sharks. It's a classic pattern of personal growth.
Right?
It's not about eradicating fear entirely, because fear, as Meyer points out, is real. It's about accumulating experiences that demonstrate capacity, gradually expanding the realm of what feels possible. Each accomplishment, no matter how small it seemed, was a deliberate, empowering step away from that scared, shy, skinny, wimpy kid.
He wasn't ignoring the 99.9% fear, but actively seeking and expanding the 0.1% courage.
Exactly, one thrum at a time.
So he's systematically building confidence, defying old fears, checking off these incredible life experiences. But how, amidst all these diverse adventures, did he eventually land on sword swallowing? Of all things. Where did that specific thrum come from? That ultimate confrontation with sharp objects, one of his most profound childhood phobias. It seems almost counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It certainly seems that way on the surface. But when you look deeper into his story, particularly into the Hilt, the seed of sword swallowing was planted very early and then sort of continually nurtured over time.
How early?
He first saw sword swallowers back in the 1960s as a kid. His father took him to circuses like Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers and Carson and Barnes. He also saw Ward Hall's Worlds of Wonder sideshow at the LaPorte County Fair in Indiana. He was mesmerized.
Okay, a childhood fascination.
But that fascination deepened significantly, took on a new dimension in 1978 when he was that missionary in South India.
Yeah.
There he witnessed Indian fakirs, snake charmers, and street sword swallowers performing live in Andhra Pradesh, the very region where the art is widely believed to have originated among the Kondadora tribe.
Wow, right at the source.
Exactly. This visceral, impactful cultural experience left this indelible impression, directly influencing his later intense fascination with ancient mystical Indian arts, especially sword swallowing. It's truly fascinating how a childhood spark, seemingly dormant for years, can be reignited by a powerful cultural encounter abroad, only to much later bloom into this central all-consuming calling.
So it wasn't random, it linked back to that desire for real magic.
Precisely. A deep-seated curiosity finally given permission to flourish.
And when did this fascination finally transition from just interest into a serious active pursuit? What was the moment he decided, okay, this is it, I'm going to do this?
It became a serious, dedicated pursuit much later in his life. It was in 1997, he was 40 years old. He stumbled upon and read Daniel Mannix's Memoirs of a Sword Swallower.
Ah, a book ignited it.
Yeah, that book powerfully reignited that childhood spark. From that point, he didn't just dream, he acted. He immediately bought a copy of Gray's Anatomy
Of course he did.
and began meticulously researching and studying the human anatomy involved. He then actively sought out living sword swallowers, which was, even then, a very rare breed.
Hard to find, I imagine.
Very. He eventually met George the Giant and Zamora the Torture King in Nashville in 1998. When he bravely approached George the Giant and asked for tips, he received that classic, almost legendary warning.
What was the warning?
George told him, I'll give you 2 tips. Number 1, it's extremely dangerous. There are less than 12 people left in the world doing it. And number 2, don't try it. Pick up magic. It's safer.
Wow. So what did that mean for Dan? Did that dire warning from a seasoned pro deter him? Or did it, as often happens with people like him, just make him even more determined, more resolved to prove the impossible possible?
It absolutely made him more determined. Far from dissuading him, George the Giant's stark warning actually served as this powerful catalyst. It prompted him to research even more deeply, to aggressively seek out and contact those remaining few living swallowers for insights, and to immediately begin practicing intensely himself.
And intensely is probably an understatement, right?
Oh, yeah. This wasn't casual. He committed to practicing an astonishing 10 to 12 times per day, every day, for 4 years.
10 to 12 tons a day.
Every day, for 4 years. When later asked about the sheer number of unsuccessful attempts during this grueling period, Meyer, with his characteristic dry humor, just replied, let's just say over those 4 years, I spent a lot of time decorating my shoes.
That translates to
Roughly 14,000 unsuccessful attempts before he finally had his breakthrough.
14,000.
14,000. Then, on February 12, 2001, after 4 years of relentless, often frustrating practice, he successfully swallowed his first sword, a 22-inch saber he proudly named My Pride, right there in his bathroom in Nashville.
Wow. That level of perseverance, it's almost unimaginable.
It really speaks to an almost obsessive, singular focus. It utterly challenges that whole notion of overnight success and profoundly underscores the irreplaceable role of deliberate practice, stubborn resilience, and learning from repeated failures in achieving true mastery, especially in an art form so physically and mentally demanding.
It's his 0.1% possible philosophy in action.
In its purest form, absolutely.
He didn't just stop at achieving personal mastery, though. He quickly moved beyond his own accomplishment and took it upon himself to preserve and even elevate this ancient, nearly lost art form. He went from solitary pursuit to collective effort, founding an organization.
That's right. In 2001, Meyer, alongside fellow sword swallower Roderick Russell, co-founded the Sword Swallowers Association International, SSA. The very next year, 2002, he and Russell organized the first ever Sword Swallowers Convention, held with the Sideshow gathering in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This was historic for the community, bringing together 18 other sword swallowers from around the world.
18 in one place.
Yeah. And as a group, they set the first Guinness World Record for multiple sword swallowers swallowing swords at once, an event so unique it was even covered by CNN.
So it quickly became about more than just him.
Clearly.
Yeah.
It was about preserving this vital, ancient art, building a supportive community, and establishing standards for a highly dangerous craft. It showed his commitment to a cause larger than himself.
Okay, before we delve deeper into his almost unbelievable feats, let's pull back the curtain a bit more. What's the rich, ancient history of this art, and what's actually happening inside a sword swallower's body? What does it truly require to get a solid, sharp blade down there?
It's a truly fascinating blend of history and human physiology. Sword swallowing, as an art, originated in India roughly 4,000 years ago, around 2000 BC, precisely where Meyer first saw it. But what's even more surprising, often completely overlooked, is its profound and unexpected connection to modern medicine.
Medicine? How so?
Over the past 150 years, sword swallowers have played this vital, though often unsung, role in science and medicine. For instance, they were absolutely instrumental in developing the rigid endoscope back in 1868. Dr. Adolf Kussmaul in Germany needed someone who could consciously control their esophageal reflexes to guide his new instrument.
Ah, makes sense.
They also assisted in developing the electrocardiogram in Wales in 1906. And beyond those breakthroughs, they've been crucial in studying swallowing disorders like GRD and dysphagia, and even in developing tools like bronchoscopes.
Wow, so sideshow performers helped advance medical science.
It reveals this hidden historical thread, showing how boundary-pushing human endeavors, even those from sideshows and ancient mysticism, can unexpectedly contribute significantly to scientific understanding and life-saving tools.
So it's clearly not just a parlor trick. It's a profound testament to human control over normally involuntary bodily functions. How do they do that? What are the incredibly precise physiological mechanics involved?
It demands an incredible, almost unbelievable amount of mental and physical control. Meyer describes it as needing mind over matter, meditation, razor-sharp concentration, and pinpoint accuracy.
Okay.
The core purpose behind the training is to consciously isolate internal body organs and systematically overcome the body's automatic, deeply ingrained reflexes. This mastery is achieved through what he calls reinforced brain synapses and repeated muscle memory.
Reinforced brain synapses.
Yeah, pathways literally forged and strengthened through what he terms deliberate practice of over 10,000 times. Think of it like building new, super efficient neural highways in your brain, specifically designed to bypass the usual autopilot for your internal organs and reflexes.
Okay, so walk us through the path of the blade. It sounds perilous.
It is. First, the swallower slides the blade over the tongue, immediately followed by consciously repressing the powerful gag reflex in the cervical esophagus. Imagine the mental discipline just for that.
Hard to imagine.
Next, they have to navigate a crucial 90-degree turn down the epiglottis, that little flap covering your windpipe. It's like guiding a long, rigid pole around a sharp corner inside a delicate, flexible tube without causing damage.
Okay.
Then, the blade passes through a specific muscle ring at the top of the esophagus, the cricopharyngeal upper esophageal sphincter, which normally stays tightly closed. This has to be relaxed on command.
Right.
Following that, they must actively repress the peristalsis reflex, those rhythmic, involuntary wave-like muscle contractions that normally push food down. It's like telling your internal conveyor belt to just freeze, perfectly still.
Wow.
The blade then meticulously slides into the chest cavity, remarkably, between the lungs.
Between the lungs. And this is where the precision becomes almost unbelievable. The risk truly immediate and terrifying, isn't it? The proximity to the heart.
Absolutely. At this critical point, the sword swallower actually has to nudge my heart aside. Meyer emphasizes that if you watch very closely, you can literally see the heart beating with the sword, separated by only about 1/8 of an inch of incredibly delicate esophageal tissue.
1/8 of an inch.
That's it. This, he points out, cannot be faked. It's a direct interaction between blade and beating heart.
Mind-blowing.
After this heart-stopping maneuver, the blade slides past the breastbone, then past the lower esophageal sphincter down into the stomach. Here, another reflex, the retch reflex, must again be powerfully repressed. Finally, the blade extends all the way down into the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine.
And Meyer calls this.
With his trademark, almost unbelievable calm and humor, he describes this entire incredibly precise, inherently dangerous process as simply piece of cake.
Piece of cake indeed. It sounds unbelievably precise, yet also extraordinarily risky. What are the very real dangers involved when that painstaking precision, that conscious control, goes wrong?
It is, as Meyer repeatedly stresses, extremely dangerous. The medical research he co-authored revealed a sobering reality. Hundreds of injuries and dozens of documented deaths among sword swallowers over the past 150 years.
Dozens of deaths.
Yes. He specifically cites the tragic case of a London sword swallower who, in a horrific accident, impaled his own heart. On average, he notes, there are typically between 3 to 8 serious sword swallowing injuries globally each year. And Meyer knows this intimately because he often gets the urgent phone calls directly from injured swallowers, sometimes while they're still in the hospital.
He's the go-to guy for that, unfortunately.
Seems so. And he's also endured his own deeply serious, life-threatening encounters with these dangers.
Can you give us some specific examples, his personal encounters with these incredible dangers and how he faced them?
Certainly. October 14, 2005. Meyer sustained what he calls his worst injury. He punctured his stomach swallowing 5 swords simultaneously.
5 at once, and punctured his stomach.
Yes, catastrophic. Sent him immediately to Decatur General Hospital in Alabama, unable to consume solid food for 4 agonizing weeks.
4 weeks.
Yet, remarkably, just 1 month later, November 14, 2005, displaying this almost unbelievable commitment and resilience, he literally climbed out of his hospital bed to film an episode of Food Network's Unwrapped.
No way. What did he do?
He swallowed the very same 5 swords that had nearly incapacitated him just weeks earlier.
That's unreal dedication.
Yep.
Or something else entirely.
Right. This injury and recovery were later featured on Discovery Channel's I Survived Impaling and TLC's 99 Most Bizarre Self-Inflicted Injuries.
I bet. Any other close call?
Another serious one in March 2010. Filming for Guinness World Records TV in Rome, he perforated his esophagus swallowing 2 swords underwater.
Underwater again. That adds another layer of difficulty.
Absolutely. Rushed to a hospital in Rome, remained on an IV trip for 2 full weeks. More recently, June 24, 2018, another grave injury. Punctured his esophagus in 3 separate places in Mesa, Arizona.
3 places.
3 places. The learning curve for many trying to master this art is often 2 to 10 years. Which underscores the immense dedication, the physical and mental stamina, and the sheer ever-present risk involved.
It really brings home that razor-thin line between mastery and catastrophe.
It does. The physiological precision is astounding, yes, but the body remains incredibly delicate. It raises that question again. Why pursue something so inherently dangerous, especially when you're so acutely aware of the risks?
And for Meyer, it links back to the Thrones, confronting fear.
Exactly. He views the injuries not as deterrence, but as part of the process, another obstacle to overcome, a literal manifestation of confronting fear head-on.
And that profound philosophy, his singular secret to doing the impossible, it extends far beyond just sword swallowing itself, doesn't it? Sounds like a blueprint for life.
It absolutely does. Meyer's key insight, the secret he shares, is deceptively simple. It has immense power. It transforms his performances from spectacle into profound lessons. Don't focus on the 99.9% that is impossible. You focus on that 0.1% that is possible and figure out how to make it possible.
That's powerful.
It isn't just about sword swallowing anymore. It's a foundational life philosophy, a practical roadmap for approaching any daunting challenge, any seemingly insurmountable obstacle you might face. For you, the listener, we invite you to reflect. What's that elusive 0.1% in your life, that tiny sliver of possibility within a situation you've maybe written off as impossible? that you might be overlooking.
That's where the transformation begins.
Exactly.
So he's not only mastered this ancient, dangerous art, understood its intricate science, and faced its dangers head-on multiple times, but what did he actually do with this incredible, hard-won ability? How did he go from swallowing his first sword in his Nashville bathroom to becoming this global sensation, known for relentlessly pushing the boundaries of human endurance and possibility?
Well, his journey escalated rapidly from personal achievement to global spectacle. After swallowing that first sword in 2001, he didn't stop. He systematically worked his way up, building capacity and skill, until he was swallowing 3, then 5, then eventually 7 swords by 2005.
Okay, steady progress.
Then, September 2, 2005, he joined 8 other talented swallowers to set a new Guinness World Record, collectively swallowing 52 swords. Meyer personally contributed 7 at once. That feat got him the Yahoo photo of the day.
7 at once.
But his drive kept pushing. February 28, 2015, he and German swallower Franz Huber broke a record by swallowing 12 swords with an unprecedented 180-degree twist.
A twist? Wow.
Then, just a month later, March 28, 2015, he shattered his personal best. 29 swords simultaneously, blades 24 to 27 inches long. Believe at Ripley's in St. Augustine.
29? That number is just staggering.
It really is. It's compelling to witness this continuous pushing of boundaries, not just doing it, but always striving to do more of it, under increasingly extreme conditions.
Like taking it underwater, surrounded by sharks. What was that experience like?
Indeed, he did. May 18, 2007, after months of rigorous practice in pools, Meyer became the first person in America to swallow a 30-inch sword while completely submerged 20 feet underwater.
20 down.
In a massive tank filled with 88 sharks and stingrays at Ripley's Aquarium in Myrtle Beach.
88 sharks and stingrays.
Yeah. This incredibly daring, visually stunning feat earned him a Ripley's cartoon, a spot in their book, plus appearances on ESPN and MTV.
And the heated sword.
Right. He also swallowed a sword heated red hot to over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit for History Channel's Stan Lee's Superhumans in 2010. He was featured as a man of steel and famously quipped, "That sucker was hot."
I bet it was. These extreme feats really underscore his commitment to confronting fear, pushing past limits.
Transforming that inner battle into an external spectacle.
And his most visually shocking feats, the ones that truly captured global attention and went viral, often involved massive vehicles, didn't they? Pulling cars by a swallowed sword became this iconic, almost unbelievable signature act.
Absolutely. February 23, 2013, he achieved this remarkable feat, pulling a 3,700-pound Mini Cooper itself, encrusted in over 1 million Swarovski gems, adding another 300 pounds.
A blinged-out Mini Cooper.
Pulling it out of Ripley's, believe it or not, Baltimore, all by a sword he had swallowed. But it was his appearances on America's Got Talent and its international cousins that truly propelled him onto the global stage.
Right, AGT. I remember that.
March 30, 2016, Season 11, he astonished audiences pulling host Nick Cannon across the stage in a 1974 Triumph Spitfire car, all by a swallowed sword. Judges loved it. 4 yes votes. That segment just exploded online, over 40 million YouTube views.
40 million?
And this feat wasn't just American TV. It became a global phenomenon, a universal symbol of overcoming the seemingly immovable. October 10, 2016, he pulled Argentinian supermodel Belen Rodriguez on Italy's Got Talent. 4 yes votes, 82% audience vote, 5.5 million Italian viewers.
He took the act everywhere.
Everywhere. August 29, 2017, France's Got Talent, pulling soccer star David Ginola in a Mini Cooper. 4 yes votes, 6.7 million French viewers. October 29, 2018, Israel's Got Talent, pulling 2 hosts in a BMW. 4 unanimous yes votes, including Uri Geller, 8.7 million Israeli viewers.
Uri Geller was a judge.
He was. And as recently as 2022, Australia's Got Talent, pulling 2 judges, Shane Jacobson and Kate Ritchie, 22 feet 6 inches. Set another Guinness World Record.
Wow. It's not just entertainment, is it? It's connecting with massive audiences across cultures, proving this powerful point globally.
Each car pulled wasn't just physical. It was a visible, undeniable metaphor for his philosophy. Control your internal fears, move external obstacles.
Beyond traditional blades and vehicles, he also took on this almost surreal variety of other objects, further cementing his mastery and versatility. What were some of those unique swallows?
Yes, his repertoire expanded incredibly, showcasing not just mastery, but also this artistic flair for the unusual. He swallowed formidable objects like hedge clippers, large surgical forceps, hedge clippers, a serpentine sword that twists, a giant straight razor, a giant saw, a curved sword, a flaming sword blade literally on fire, and even a glowing lightsaber.
Oh, lightsaber. Okay, now he's just having fun.
Seems like it. And a truly unique historical moment. October 31st, 2018, he swallowed Napoleon Bonaparte's actual 1877 bayonet,
Napoleon's bayonet? Seriously.
owned then by Uri Geller. He swallowed it in Old Jaffa, Israel, where Napoleon famously broke through the wall in 1799.
That's wild. These diverse swallows highlight his creativity, always searching for new ways to challenge himself and captivate.
Oh, definitely.
And speaking of proving a point, his commitment to becoming the world's leading expert extended beyond performance and into the rigorous world of academia, leading to that unexpected, prestigious award. How did that happen?
It's one of the most remarkable full-circle moments in his life. One of Dan Meyer's self-declared thrones was to become the world's leading expert in sword swallowing. He pursued it with characteristic dedication, not just studying personally, but dedicating himself to rigorous medical research. In 2006, he collaborated with a respected British radiologist, Dr. Brian Whitcomb.
Right.
They conducted the first comprehensive medical research on the art, gathering data from 110 known sword swallowers across 16 countries. Their groundbreaking paper, Sword Swallowing and Its Side Effects, wasn't just published, it was featured in the prestigious British Medical Journal on December 23, 2006.
The BMJ. That's huge for a non-medical expert.
Extraordinarily rare honor, especially for an American sword swallower in a British medical journal. For this pioneering work, Meyer and Dr. Whitcomb were jointly awarded the 2007 Ig Nobel Prize in Medicine at Harvard University.
The Ig Nobel at Harvard. That's fantastic.
Since that recognition, he's become this highly sought-after speaker. Lectures at science and medical conferences, festivals, museums, medical associations, hospitals globally. The child who once feared doctors and needles now educates them on the very subject that once brought him terror.
That journey, from fearing medical professionals to contributing to their journals and winning an award at Harvard, is just astonishing. And then there are his TED Talks, which really amplified his message to an even wider global audience.
It really is an incredible testament to his transformation. The seeds for his public speaking were sown back in October 2008. He met the renowned TED speaker Hans Rosling in Stockholm,
Oh, Hans Rosling, legend.
who personally encouraged him to consider giving a TED Talk. 5 years later, September 4, 2013, Meyer took the stage, presented his powerful talk, Cutting Through Fear, at Tex Maastricht in the Netherlands.
How was it received?
Audience of over 4,000 people. Immediate, heartfelt standing ovation. The video quickly went viral, millions of views worldwide. His TED Talk is now officially recognized as the #1 most translated TED Talk in the world.
And #1 translated. That's incredible reach.
Over 80 languages. He's gone on to present a total of 9 TED Talks across 4 continents: TEDx Brain Train, Huntsville, Tampa River Walk, USP, Yerevan, Armenia, Accra, Ghana, Africa. He even coached other TED speakers at TED 2019. Beyond TED, he's become this incredibly in-demand youth speaker at churches, upward unlimited events across the country. It shows how his unusual, visually compelling skill serves as this profound vehicle for inspiration.
This is where his core purpose really shines through, isn't it?
Absolutely. The swords are the powerful, unforgettable metaphor, but the message, cutting through fear, is the genuine superpower he wants to share. He shows how such a niche, physically demanding skill can be translated into a universal, deeply empowering message.
And he's even gone so far as to establish an international day to celebrate this ancient art. That really speaks to his dedication, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. February 2008, Meyer founded World Sword Swallowers Day. The first worldwide celebration was February 28, 2008. He uses events like this not only to promote the art, but more importantly, to amplify his central message of cutting through fear, keeping the ancient practice alive and relevant.
Dan Meyer has achieved the impossible in ways most of us can only dare to dream of, conquering external feats that defy belief. But for him, what does he consider the most remarkable thing he's ever done? What's the profound core message he wants to leave us with that truly ties back to that scared little boy who started it all?
His perspective on courage is genuinely profound. It beautifully redefines heroism. He states unequivocally that true courage isn't merely swallowing a sword or the terrifying act of nudging his heart aside or even physically risking his life in a spectacular performance.
So what is real courage, according to him?
He reveals that what takes real courage is for that scared, shy, skinny, wimpy kid to risk failure and rejection, to bare his heart and swallow his pride and stand up here in front of a bunch of total strangers and tell you his story about his fears and dreams, to risk spilling his guts, both literally and figuratively.
Wow, that hits differently.
Doesn't it? This radical shift in definition is so powerful It moves heroism from external spectacle and physical prowess to internal vulnerability, raw authenticity, emotional bravery. It challenges each of us to deeply consider where true bravery lies in our own lives. Often not in grand gestures, but in facing personal anxieties, shedding masks, daring to share our authentic selves.
That's the true sword he wants us to consider swallowing.
Precisely.
So all the Guinness records, the dozens of global TV appearances, the viral TED Talks, those aren't the most remarkable achievements for him. That's quite a revelation.
No, not according to Meyer. He explicitly clarifies that while impressive, it's not swallowing 21 swords or underwater stunts or hot swords or pulling cars or even winning prizes like the Ig Nobel. The really remarkable thing, he says, with this profound sense of awe and gratitude,
What is it?
is that God could take that scared, shy, skinny, wimpy kid who was afraid of heights, who was afraid of water and sharks and doctors and nurses and needles and sharp objects and speaking to people. And now he's got me flying around the world at heights of 30,000 feet, swallowing sharp objects underwater in tanks of sharks, and speaking to doctors and nurses and audiences like you around the world.
That's beautiful, finding purpose in weakness.
Exactly. His true purpose and calling, he believes, is not with the swords, not what you think, not with my strengths. It's actually with my weakness, my words.
His words, which used to be his enemy.
Right. His ultimate mission, he declares, is to change the world by cutting through fear, one sword at a time, one word at a time, one knife at a time, one life at a time, to inspire people to be superheroes and do the impossible in their lives. My purpose is to help others find theirs.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, sitting there right now? He asks us directly to engage with his philosophy. What's your purpose? What were you put here to do? What is your superpower? What is your story? What are your thrones? And he is currently facing perhaps his biggest throne yet, isn't he? A recent diagnosis that puts his entire philosophy to the ultimate test.
It's an incredible, deeply personal testament to the enduring power and authenticity of his philosophy. In August 2022, shortly after returning from his Australia and New Zealand tour, Meyer received a devastating diagnosis. Stage IV adenocarcinoma, colorectal cancer.
Stage 4. Oh, man.
Yeah. Large tumor in his sigmoid colon, multiple smaller tumors on his cecum, liver, adrenal glands, spread to nearby lymph nodes.
How did she respond?
His response wasn't despair. It was a profound, conscious decision to stay positive, viewing fighting cancer as yet another, perhaps the most profound way of doing the impossible to defy death with a positive attitude.
Wow. Applying the same mindset.
Immediately undertook intense research standard medical treatments, alternative naturopathic approaches, and remarkably, even while actively undergoing treatment, he continued to perform globally.
Performing while undergoing cancer treatment.
Yes. Australia's Got Talent, Sweden's Talang, where he got the Golden Buzzer, made top 3 finalist. Croatia's Super Talent, Spain's Got Talent, Germany's Das Super Talent, Canada's Got Talent, The Huckabee Show.
That's just unbelievable resilience.
It truly demonstrates the depth and sincerity of his transformation. It underscores that courage is never the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, the conscious choice to move forward, even facing the ultimate existential danger.
He encapsulates this entire philosophy with that profoundly resonant message, the one that really makes you pause. Everyone dies, but not everyone really lives. It's in dying that we live. When you learn to die, you really learn to live.
Powerful.
And for those bullies who once made his young life so miserable, who shaped him in ways they could never have imagined, he offers a final, incredibly poignant message.
His message to them is incredibly simple, yet deeply powerful and full of grace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because if it weren't for villains, we wouldn't have superheroes. A truly remarkable full circle for that scared, shy, skinny, wimpy kid from Michigan City, Indiana.
What an absolutely incredible deep dive into the life and philosophy of Dan Meyer, a true impossibilist in every sense of the word. We've journeyed through the story of a young boy whose crippling fears inadvertently fueled this lifelong quest to defy limits, not just physically, but profoundly philosophically. He transformed words, once his worst enemy, a source of deep pain, into powerful tools for inspiration and global change, proving that the greatest feats, the deepest transformations, often begin with conquering internal battles, not external ones.
Indeed. His journey from being paralyzed by social anxiety to commanding stages worldwide, from fearing sharp objects to mastering them with breathtaking precision, and from facing a life-threatening illness with this unwavering spirit of defiance. It provides a compelling narrative that unequivocally challenges each of us to reevaluate our own perceived limitations.
Absolutely.
His core message, distilled through every performance, every word that fear is a choice, is a powerful personal call to action for each of us. It urges us to identify our own unique swords, those deeply held fears and audacious dreams, and to dare to swallow them, to face them, integrate them into our personal journeys of triumph.
So as you reflect on Dan Meyer's truly astonishing story, we want to leave you with this provocative thought. What is your sword? What seemingly impossible dream, what audacious throne have you perhaps shelved or abandoned purely out of fear? And what small yet incredibly significant step, that crucial 0.1% of possibility, can you take today to begin your own long walk toward making that dream a tangible reality? Remember, as Dan Meyer himself so powerfully says, the impossible is not impossible.
Great place to leave it.
For more fascinating insights into Dan Meyer's remarkable life and the rich, often surprising history of sword swallowing, we highly recommend his compelling book, To the Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic read. Co-authored with sideshow historian Mark Hartzman, published by Schiffer Books.
You can easily find To the Hilt at all major retailers: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, Target, Walmart, many other fine book retailers.
Or check out tothehiltbook.com or tothehilt.net for more info, anecdotes, deeper dives into the world of sword swallowing.
And for even more captivating stories from this ancient art, don't forget to check out the Sword Swallowers Association International Hall of Fame website at swordswallow.com. You can listen to more To the Hilt podcasts there, discover incredible tales of other sword swallowers spanning the past 4,000 years right up to today.
Lots more to explore.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable deep dive. Until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and keep asking those big, impossible questions.
To the hills with every breath, dancing close to life and death. Stories written deep in flesh, legends born in every test. Through history's winding path, crafted with an iron grasp. Voices from a world gone past, echo in the feats they clasp.